Thank you for having us here today. It's great to be with you again. Thank you, Stelios, for always keeping me in your programs. Really good presentations, and I'm going to try and bring them together a little bit because I am literally representing the implementer. We are on the ground, quite literally. You can't walk 2 blocks in New York City and not see one of our fleet vehicles in action. And we are very committed to sustainability, but we are the ultimate practical implementer. Nothing we do can be theoretical. We are literally ambulances and police cars. We are picking up your garbage every day. But what we heard today was the bigger picture. Sustainability, good, but you got to be practical. You got to really make it scalable and implementable and cost-effective and resilient. We heard a little bit about battery storage. I'm going to tell you a story on my side about battery storage. We love the idea of battery storage for electrification, but something happened. I'm going to mention that. And then the grid. You know, for many years, I run the largest electric charging network in the state of New York, 2,500 ports and growing. And, we are in the field every day with Con Ed, literally every single day. And that was kind of good. And we didn't really have to worry about your big grid problems and grid issues. I get these emails from the Public Service Commission, but I got to admit, I didn't really read them. I didn't consider it my role as your town fleet manager to have to understand all that. And apparently it now is. Things have changed on that front. And maybe that's a product of success. We're growing, we're doing a lot more, but we're starting to, kind of come into some of these grid capacity issues. Commissioning used to be an easy end of stage thing. Now it's like when, please help, in some of these larger issues. So first, who we are, we're the largest municipal fleet in the United States. We are your public service providers in every scale. And one fun thing, everything you see there is electric. We are one of the most sustainable fleets you will ever meet. We are actually 22,000 vehicles now operating on alternative fuels. It's actually closing in, it'll be 23,000 soon. And to give you a reference point, that's out of 28,000. So we are moving the whole system. We are the largest electric fleet in the state of New York, the largest hybrid fleet in the state of New York, largest charging network in the state of New York, and the largest, I'm not here to talk about it, biofuel implementer. Every one of your garbage trucks, fire trucks, city equipment is powered exclusively by waste animal fats and used cooking oil today. That is all we use as a power source if we are not electric or hybrid. Someone mentioned the Paris Climate Accord. In 2015, the city of New York committed to 50 by 25, 50% greenhouse gas reduction by 2025 in the city's fleet. We are probably 10 or 11 in terms of the largest fleets in the United States. Amazon, others are bigger, but not too many. We met 50 by 25. So lots of commitments out there. Not too many people then making the follow-up announcement they actually did it. And that's how we did it. I'm here to focus on the electrification side. So we are closing in on 6,000 electric vehicles throughout the city fleet, an enormous increase in the use of electricity for transportation. That's like the battery storage curve. It's like doubling every year now, and that's fantastic. And we've proven you can install electric charging everywhere. That's our map. We are everywhere in the city. Our focus is fleet. I have to take care of my customers who are some heady organizations, police, fire, and sanitation being my 3 primary customers, but I have 55 total clients. So that is my main focus, but we are offering to the general public, and hopefully we'll have some more to say on that very soon, especially as our utilities turn on our sites as we build them. But on the far right, if you live in Queens, you may have seen that site, but that's going to be the city's largest public charging hub coming soon. I will not preview our announcement, but we hope to have a ribbon cutting on that very soon. That's one of our current existing charging sites. If you are a Mets fan, you have seen that site. I was flying to go speak somewhere, and I was going to the airport at 4 a.m. in the morning on a Saturday, and that site was packed, and they were waiting in line to use those chargers. And then I started emailing my deputy, Brett Taylor, hey, my God, I'm going by, I'm sending him pictures. And then it occurred to me I'm emailing him at 4 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. And I might add, on the left, that is the first curbside fast charger in the city of New York. And we are thinking more about that. It was already mentioned, but Chippy is a reality. So as we electrify, and that was a DCAS involved project from the beginning, all of our power will now be clean hydropower. So we're not just thinking about the switchover of our systems, our building systems out of DCAS and our fleet systems, but the sourcing of our power originally. So we're going to have on the electric side, hydropower from Canada, and on the diesel side, we're going to have feedstocks basically that are farm and waste feedstocks. So we're thinking on the whole supply chain of how we do this. We're making some announcements that we hope are path setting. We announced with our Commissioner Yume Kitase that we had reached 1,000 electric vehicles in law enforcement. If you can electrify police cars, and it's not easy, and there are a lot of real issues and a lot of cultural issues, but if you can electrify police cars, you can electrify anything. Yesterday, maybe my new slide didn't get in. I actually had another slide. We just announced this week, we'll do a little publicity on it today, that we have a new electric command center that we dedicated to Joseph Esposito, who you might know was one of the real extraordinary public servants, 50 years in police emergency management and the Department of Buildings. He was the lead for NYPD in responding operationally to 9/11. And, very fitting that we would dedicate a command center to him. It's an all-electric command center. That is something new. And I actually thrown a picture in. I guess I was too late to get that in. But we're electrifying on the policing side and trying to lead on that front. Medium-duty trucks. We now have 950 electric medium-duty trucks. That has really scaled. 4 years ago, if I had come here, I'd have told you we'd not have a single pickup or van that was electric. We now have an enormous fleet of them and growing, and people like them. They're incredibly popular. We are trying to push on the trucks. We had our fleet show on May 21st. We made some announcements on trucks. Trucks are a little bit more challenging. They're very expensive. There are issues of reliability. You're not going to get the TCO. You're not going to get the savings when you're adding double or triple the cost of a unit in our world. But we're committed. 4 years ago, we had nothing on vans pickups. Today, total TCO, total viability. So, we like to, trucks right now, challenging, making our first efforts. We'd like to see it grow. If you saw New York One yesterday, you saw a story about children naming one of our newest trucks for the materials for the arts. So we have a big new electric truck that's transporting goods to support art programs all over the city. And New York One did a great story because they decided that all these kids who are recipients of the programs should name the truck. And it was a really nice story that I recommend to you. We are trying to, especially as some aspects of the federal government retreat on this, we're trying to add as much as we can to the academic, practical understanding. So we published a battery report. We study our vehicles, we are kind of scale. We do 250 million miles a year. So we have a lot that we can analyze. The good news, electric, as you probably all know in this room, is 9 times more efficient than combustion engine, right? It's not even close. The more challenging news, the winter thing is real. So it's a real challenge, 30 to 35% reduction in range. You are going to charge up more. As an operator, you have to plan for that. You can't ignore it, right? What you can do in the summer in one of these electric trucks is different from what you can do in the winter. We operate all year long. You have to take a look at that. Reliability and costs. Affordability is what we're all focused on. So how's affordability going in liquid fuels these days? You all enjoying that? I have an electric car as my personal car. And I actually don't follow in my personal life the gas prices. I don't know, my son's here. We know what the gas prices are. I haven't gassed up a vehicle in a year and a half. So I'm actually not impacted by that particular thing, but I hear it's not going well. But that's a lie. That's my personal life. In my professional life, our little town fleet of ours is looking at right now $50 million incremental dollars because of what has been happening in pricing. $50 million incremental dollars. That's extra just for the fuel budget, just for your town fleet. You know how much time and energy we fight for a $100,000 budget, $1 million, this grant for $50,000, but boom, 50 million out the window because of what's been happening right now. And by the way, electric pricing, while it can increase, is almost always more stable. The increases being more predictable than the wacky up and down, who knows what's going on with fuel, but you're going to pay for it. We're doing a lot on training. This is a big cultural change, and there's a lot that has to be done to bring people to understand. We're training mechanics, we're training operators, we're bringing electricians because we're morphing trades now. We do a lot of work. We're also investing in other practical solutions. Where an EV is not ready, we'll do hybrids, and we made a great announcement with Commissioner Tisch on the bringing in of thousands of hybrids into the NYPD fleet. We're studying all of these things to make sure they work, they make sure they're practical. We are publishing on that. So the good news, hybrid vehicles are way more efficient in actual use than gas. Electric and plug-in hybrids are way more efficient than hybrids. All this tech actually works, with a few exceptions. There are some challenges. We've done also on the maintenance side, enormous savings. So you talk about the practical implementation, 70+% maintenance savings. Someone mentioned resiliency in one of our first conversations. Here's an interesting resiliency fact you might not know. One of the biggest issues in emergency services with vehicles as we go into the summer is overheating, transmission failures in hot weather. It's a huge maintenance issue. Doesn't happen with hybrids and electric vehicles because they're operating on the battery while they're idling. So you talk about an unusual aspect of resiliency that people might not be aware of. All right, I'm going to take this break and talk about battery storage. We love battery storage as a concept. All the discussion that was earlier about what battery storage can do for you, it takes off the demand, the pressure on peak load, right? Which also is a cost issue. So if you're charging up at night, then that's less expensive. It's emergency resiliency. If the power goes out, the battery storage will still operate, maybe 6-8 hours. So we tried to make our core fast charger, our 150 kilowatt fast charger, a battery storage charger. And what happened to the company? Anyone know? They went bankrupt, right? So we do depend on reliable industry. We bought the first 5. We were going to be their biggest investor. We were going to make battery. We were going to not just do fast charging. We were going to do a battery storage fast charging. We love the concept, but we need a reliable industry to work in. And that is this slide. We have challenges. There are tremendous headwinds. Our first speaker said something about the sustainability industry maturing. Maturity is not the word I would use the last 18 months of policy in these areas, at least at the federal level. But there are enormous headways. And there was a theme, what's happening in sustainability? So I'm going to just throw one out from the news, because lots of our lives just is what people read in the news apparently these days. So I'll just give you one news. There was a meeting at the White House with all the manufacturers of vehicles that happened about 4 or 5 months ago. Soon after that, there were announcements by almost all of them that they were going to be retreating from their electric vehicle investments, writing off their electric vehicle investments. There was then one from the biggest, Ford, a few months later, warning all of us that cars may go the way of consumer goods in other areas, and America could be out of the business of making cars soon because electrification is happening everywhere in the world, and we are not necessarily now positioned for that. And then this morning there is an article about BYD, the largest Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer, using its inroads into Canada as preparation to take over the US vehicle market. All kinds of connections there. And the irony of that is, the end of that story would not necessarily not be sustainability, because it's about the movement of the electric vehicle market. It might have more to do with our connection to that sustainability as a country. So one of the things we are doing, and we want to leave you with, is we believe these partnerships and battling back on this industry is important. That as there are very loud voices trying to push back on sustainability, at least in this country, that we have to be louder in pushing for it. Part of that, Los Angeles and New York made an announcement in May that we would be partnering together to be meeting with, advocating for, and pushing the vehicle industry forward, that we want sustainable, smart, safe, reliable vehicles. We know the industry can make them, and that we are committed to investing in them and demanding them. And so we made that partnership with Los Angeles. You're going to be hearing more from us about that as that partnership unfolds. And you know, we certainly welcome any of you to be part of this. We're also bringing in as many partners as possible to kind of keep this industry moving forward. So with that, thanks for having us. And I did want to mention something, because you have such a great view of the DCAS cupola in the top of our building here. We just announced that the cupola, the kind of circular viewing area of the municipal building, is now open to public views. It's free. You go online. I've worked in the municipal building for 15 years. They never let me up there. You have a perfect view of it and of the civic virtue statue from right here. And the views are tremendous. And it's you're not going to do a lot of walking. It's like 40, 50 feet. And every 2 feet, you have a whole new view of New York City. So I strongly encourage you to take a look. And it's just really exciting. How often does anybody in New York City offer up citywide views that you've never seen and that it's free? With that, thank you very much.